Welcome to Space News from the Electric Universe, brought to you by the Thunderbolts Project at thunderbolts.info. Today, we begin a series of science news reports that challenge the very underpinnings of modern cosmology. In many previous Space News episodes, we have reported on the discoveries of objects that are, quote, impossible in the standard model, including stars of impossible brightness and chemical composition, galaxies with astonishing magnetic field strengths, and objects that appear impossibly huge under the theoretical limits of the Big Bang theory. Today, astronomers' observations of a so-called impossible quasar is again sending investigators back to the drawing board. A team working with the Sloan Digital Sky Survey has announced that a so-called distant quasar has mysteriously dimmed in a shockingly short period of time, not over millions of years as required by theory, but only 12 years after its discovery. As one team member states, the difference was stunning and unprecedented. The hydrogen alpha emission dropped by a factor of 50 in less than 12 years, and the quasar now looks like a normal galaxy. The best explanation the team can offer is that, quote, the quasar has used up all the glowing hot gas in its immediate vicinity, leading to a rapid drop in brightness. However, in light of this discovery, nowhere in science media do we see discussions of the theoretical predictions of the late astronomer Halton Arp. Today, we asked Dr. Donald Scott to explain the consistency of this and countless other discoveries with Arp's groundbreaking thesis.
In the last week or so, there have been a couple of press releases from official astronomical sources that really deserve the attention and comment of somebody here from the EU. First one I'd like to talk about a little bit was entitled Mysterious Dimming of a Quasar in Just 12 Years. Okay, now notice mysterious. Those words are always in these press, very ghostly, mysterious. The main thing is there was a dimming of a quasar in a 12-year period. Now, we have to remember that in accepted astronomy, almost every object in cosmic space, at least, is thought to be pretty much in lonely, pristine isolation. Any major changes in any galaxy or quasar or single star or whatever must come from within the object. That's the idea of the nuclear fusion being the source of all power, and it's isolated within each of these objects, except for black holes, which are mysterious and ghostly. But anyway, they're thought to take a very long time, usually in the millions of years, to change any of those objects. So a quote from the article says, quote, the difference was stunning and unprecedented. The hydrogen alpha emission dropped by a factor of 50 in less than 12 years. And pay attention to these words now. The quasar now looks like a normal galaxy, unquote. So this is a big mystery because things are not supposed to change in less than 12 years. And how in the world could a quasar change from being something that looks sort of like a star, a quasi-stellar object, into a galaxy? They think it's stunning and unprecedented because it doesn't fit their standard model of how stars and galaxies evolve. Well, let me make a comment. In 1998, a world-famous astronomer, one of my heroes at least, Halton Arp, wrote a book entitled Seeing Red. Strictly speaking, Arp was not really a member of the Electric Universe group, but he spoke at one of our conferences, and his work fits in extremely well with ours. In any event, on page 239 of that book, after decades of observation using both the Mount Wilson and the Mount Palomar observatories, Arp presented his hypothesis. And his hypothesis was that many mature galaxies of a specific type eject newborn objects as QSOs, quasar-stellar objects, quasars. And these objects grow up to be companion galaxies of their parents. They move away from the parent, and then they change their mass, they change their brilliance, and they slow down, and eventually they even begin to fall back a little bit toward the main galaxy, the parent galaxy. We think they gain or change mass because they change their amount of electrical charge, but that's an addition that the EU has put on Arp's hypothesis. His original hypothesis said nothing about that. but we feel it's consistent with what we think. Anyhow, as they age, these QSOs cool and the matter in them will begin to condense and organize into stars. So finally, the stars will organize into the familiar shapes of normal galaxies. For those statements, even though he had a great amount of observational evidence to support them, he was stripped of his privileges to use the big observatories, and he was essentially fired. How's that for treatment like Galileo got? Anyway, now we get this naive report from a group of investigators who presumably never heard of Holton Arp and his groundbreaking work. If you, the viewer here, will take a look at the Thunderbolts info site, thunderbolts.info, you can look under the heading of Teapots, Thunderbolts Pictures of the Day, and look for the one on January 6th, 2005. It's sort of comically entitled, The Universe According to ARP. Not GARP, ARP. But anyway, it's not a funny article. It is a very, very serious article, and I think one of the most important teapods that ever got published. But in any event, the group who wrote this report that I'm talking about, this press release, have now discovered new evidence that ARP was correct. But they will not give him credit. It's as though they never heard of him. And that's one of the reasons I'm talking to you today, because I think this is the kind of thing we cannot let go into the dim depths of the past and forget about this man. He was an absolute genius and on a par with Galileo, in my estimation.
For continuous updates on space news from the electric universe, stay tuned to thunderbolts.info.